Welcome back to Central News. Every rugby player is only one injury away from being a has-been. So what happens next once they're off the field? Martin joins me now to tell us how they are helping the rugby players. Martin, thanks for coming on the show today. Tell us, how common is it for rugby players to find they get that unexpected injury that takes them out of the game for the rest of their life and they don't have a backup plan?
I think it's getting rarer because of the work that the Rugby Players Association does in terms of having people like myself in the provincial unions part-time, and then people within the franchises. Each of the franchises has a permanent full-time PDM, and we have part of the agreement with the rugby union that the players have half a day a week of personal development, professional development. And the Players Association really looks after the relationship with the New Zealand Union and the individual unions if you're not on a NZRU contract. My role, plus and the other PDMs, is around career development, professional development, setting themselves up for when their season finishes or when their career finishes. If you look at a guy like Colin Burke, went away last November to play for the Barbars, got injured, hasn't really got back into, he's back into full training, but he hasn't had a game. What are we, that's 6 months? And it's about, we help them also with support in handling those injuries. But I think the guys are getting more and more smart about using the opportunities that we give them.
It's great that the opportunities have been presented for them, and I understand that professional development managers have been around for about 8 years. So what change has there been since the first lot of professional development managers started 8 years ago to now?
I think that as we move, into the sort of second decade of professional rugby, players who have retired, and the Players Association has conducted a number of surveys, but last year they did a really intense, deep survey of financial situation of players who have retired, education, job opportunities, and that has showed that a large number of the guys are happy with life out of rugby. And we are building on that and making improvements. We've got some good programs going in parts of the country, like Steve Simmons, who is the PDM in Hurricanes Wellington area. He's got some good relationships with Welltech in terms of helping the players who may have left school a little bit early without a lot of qualification. Then there are others who've got degrees, and it's about helping them identify opportunities to use those, such as one of the legal firms in Tauranga is employing one of our players until the season starts. So people are getting work experience and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So how do you ensure that the players do have a plan B, and you spend quite a bit of time with them each week? What do you cover each week that you meet with them?
If we're doing a group activity, we may use one of our partners. For example, Westpac is a good partner. They have 3 people throughout the country who are dedicated to the unions and to the franchises, and they may run seminars on budgeting, planning, making sure they're spending their money right and correctly, or may do one-on-one, and someone's planning to buy a house. We'll go through the whole process of the funding and how much they need for a deposit, and then we'll assist them. We'd have someone like Staples Rodway who'd help with some planning around if they're thinking of going into a business. Cooney Lees, who are also sponsor of the Bay of Plenty, will give some free time to anyone who would like to know something about setting up trusts or wills, or making sure that they've got their finances in place if they go offshore, as a lot are going offshore now.
It's good that those opportunities are available to get the players prepared for what rugby offers them as well. How do you work with players and get support from the coaches and the unions?
I've got a good relationship with our coaches and the players. A lot of it's about making sure that the senior players are on board with what we're trying to do. And it's difficult for some of the senior players because they may have had the same exposure to Westpac, Staple Rodway when they were with the Chiefs, for example, in the Bay. But I've talked to them about, hey, it's really important that you guys are seen to endorsing what we're trying to do. So we worked through that. One of our senior players who came to see us join us last year. Luke Andrews talked to me before he started what he needed to do to finish his inshore launch operator's certificate. I arranged for him to do his radio, his radar, and helped him get some work experience at the Tauranga port. Now he just tells me he's just got permanent employment when the season's finished with New Plymouth down in Taranaki. Fantastic opportunity, and I can build on that because Luke's a well-respected player within the group.
And what do the players feel about having these professional development managers helping them in this area?
It's all about trust, me building a relationship with them, and me delivering what they want. And some of them are not quite sure, so we may go through 3 or 4 different examples of work experience, but it's just about giving them what they need. And it's like anything, you can lead a horse to water but you can't make them drink. We provide the opportunities, then they need to take them.
Thanks, Martin, for your time.
Okay.
Well, there you go. It's great to see that the rugby players are getting the support out there for what happens after the game. After the break, we have Norm Barker back, and he's talking about what projects are happening with the Waikato Regional Council.